Hello and welcome to this weekend's Bundesliga preview with myself, Seb Sternick. Yes, this weekend I am flying solo, but I have 9 big games coming up for you this weekend, and I'm going to run through all of them, giving you some key stats and statistics along the way. So let me give you a rundown of what's coming up this weekend. Beginning on Friday night, it's Borussia Mönchengladbach against Werder Bremen. Saturday, it's Augsburg, Hoffenheim, Frankfurt, Hanover, Hamburg, Mainz, Schalke, Hertha, Wolfsburg, Leverkusen, and Saturday night, very tasty affair between RB Leipzig and Borussia Dortmund. Sunday also promises to be an interesting day with FC Köln, Stuttgart, and Freiburg against Bayern Munich. So let's get straight into this, and there is only one place we can start with. As I mentioned, Saturday night. What a game this could be. RB Leipzig against Borussia Dortmund. I am really looking forward to this one. You have two huge, colossal, gargantuan teams going head-to-head towards the top end of the Bundesliga. Of course, RB Leipzig heading into this game on a two-game successive defeats. So, they lost to Frankfurt 2 weeks ago, and they lost to FC Köln miraculously last weekend. So, 2 successive defeats coming into this game against Borussia Dortmund, who last weekend, if you will remember, drew 1-1 with Augsburg. Now, don't forget there was a protest in Dortmund. Usually you hear attendances like 80,000, 81,000 at Dortmund. That game saw 54,000 fans turn up. And why? I'll tell you exactly why. It's because the fans are not happy with the Monday night fixtures, and they decided to make a statement, and they certainly did. Although 54,000 fans turning up in what is supposed to be a protest is still a decent turnout. I'm sure most teams around Europe, with the exception of a few, would definitely take that any day of the week. Anyway, to give you some stats behind this game, a win for Leipzig would see them draw level on points with Borussia Dortmund, who are currently in second place. So definitely a lot to play for Leipzig if they want to remain in the contention for those Champions League places. Now, let's not forget, RB Leipzig have won 2 of their 3 Bundesliga matches with Borussia Dortmund, so they do like to play against them. Can they win here again? That is a very interesting thing that we're going to be looking out for. Now, Leipzig won the reverse fixture 3-2. Now, you all remember who was in charge of Dortmund then. Yes, it was Peter Bosz. Now, that defeat against Leipzig sparked a remarkable 8-game winless run, which eventually resulted in the sacking of the poor Peter Bosz. Leipzig have now lost, despite all the good stuff, they have lost consecutive games for the first time this season, while Dortmund are yet to lose a league game under Peter Stöger. 5 wins and 4 draws. So since the man has come in, Peter Stöger, obviously the former FC Köln coach, since he has come in, Dortmund have been in exceptional form. Absolutely exceptional. But the question is, will they be able to keep this going? They are 19 points behind Bayern München, so I'm sorry, Borussia Dortmund fans, you can say goodbye to any title run, but certainly finishing second for Peter Stöger wouldn't be a bad way to kick off his tenure at the club. The man to watch out for definitely must be Marco Reus. The man is back among the goals. He scored in that 1-1 draw with Augsburg, so certainly he is the man to watch out for. Moving on though, Hamburg against Mainz. Huge game towards the bottom of the table. We kicked off with a game high in the table. Now we're moving on to the lowest of lows. It's 16th against 17th. Sorry, it's 17th Hamburg against 16th Mainz. Now Hamburg coming into this on a 3-game losing run. They lost to Dortmund. Fair enough. They lost to Leverkusen. Fair enough. But last weekend, a loss to Werder Bremen. You do not want to be losing to your relegation contenders, and they have. It was a 1-0 defeat away from home, and now they're coming into this big game against Mainz, hoping for a win. When the fans look to these couple of fixtures, they would have thought, we need 6 points. They'll be hoping they can at least get 3 with a victory over Mainz, but it won't be easy. Won't be easy because Mainz have at least got some momentum. Their last 2 games has seen them pick up 4 points. 2 weeks ago, a 2-0 win over Hertha Berlin away from home. What a momentum builder that is. They followed that up with a 1-0 draw against Wolfsburg. Again, a bittersweet point. They would have been hoping to get at least 3 points out of that game, but it was a draw against their relegation rivals. Now, Mainz have took 9 points from their last 11 games. Only Hamburg have claimed fewer in that period. So it's not all that good for Mainz either. Just a mention on the head coach at Hamburg, Bernd Hollebach, I hope I said his name correctly, is yet to taste a victory as Hamburg boss. 2 draws and 3 defeats. He is the first Hamburg head coach to start his tenure with a 5-game winless run in the Bundesliga. That is a phenomenal stat, and not one that the head coach will be looking back with a smile on his face. Right, next up we have FC Köln, and they are taking on Stuttgart. And again, big game for Köln. They are clawing their way back after such a disappointing first few months of this season. They are now level on points with 17th placed Hamburg. Köln obviously still bottom due to the goal difference. And they are coming into this game on the back of a victory. A 2-1 victory away at RB Leipzig. What a phenomenal, exceptional, excellent victory that was. It's taken them within inches of survival. We'll see with this. First of all, they need to keep this run going under the head coach Stefan Rufenbeck. Now, Stuttgart have the chance to do the double over Köln for the first time since 1996-97. Guess who was the head coach? I'll give you a few seconds. It was Joachim Löw, the current Germany manager. He was in charge of Stuttgart when they last did the double over Köln over 10 years ago. Now, Köln are winless in the Bundesliga. Sorry, that was a bit rough, wasn't it? Köln are winless in 9 Bundesliga home matches against Stuttgart. So, if you're looking at the stats, you're really looking at a Stuttgart victory. What's more, Stuttgart are coming into this game having won 3 on the trot now. They beat Mönchengladbach. They beat Augsburg. And last week, they beat the phenomenal Eintracht Frankfurt. They're currently 12th in the table. What's more, I mean, we all know Stuttgart's away form is really, it's horrid, isn't it? But they have picked up 4 points from their last 2 away games. So is the tide turning? Now remember, the Billy Goats have claimed 14 points from 10 games under Stefan Rufenbeck. They lie in 9th in the table if you would look at the games since he took over. So they are in good form. Another thing to mention is that they have scored 16 goals in 10 games. Under Peter Stöger, they had scored 6 in 14. So up front, they are certainly a lot better. However, they have let in 43 goals this term. Already more than the whole of last season, and we're nowhere near finishing this season yet. Another, perhaps an interesting stat, Stuttgart have won their last 3 Bundesliga game, which is their best run of top-flight victories since 2015-16, which was their last season before relegation, of course. Right, moving on, we have the champions, Bayern München, the defending champions. They are away at Freiburg. Now, you might be thinking, this is going to be easy day at the office for Bayern München, but it wasn't last weekend, was it, when they took on Hertha Berlin? It finished 0-0 in the end. Hertha Berlin managing to stop them. The game was in Munich as well, so a phenomenal draw for Hertha Berlin. Now the question remains, could Freiburg do the same? Could Freiburg frustrate their opposition? Could they frustrate Jupp Heynckes' side? That would be an extraordinary thing if they can. Now the reverse fixture ended 5-0 in favour of of Bayern München, but that was at München. This is in Freiburg. So surely there is some hope. Freiburg took 21 points from their last 12 games. That is the same as Dortmund. It's the same as Bayer Leverkusen. So they're in good territory there. What's more, Christian Streichsman have lost just once at home this season, which was a 1-0 defeat against Schalke, if I remember correctly, on match day 11. So at home, they are a very, very strong side. But then again, they are taking on Bayern München, aren't they? Bayern's 14-game run of competitive victories ended with that draw against Hertha Berlin, which also saw them fail to score for the first time since Jupp Heynckes returned. Robert Lewandowski, where was the man? Where was he? Well, I'll tell you where he could be against Freiburg. He could be amongst the goals. He likes to play against Freiburg. In fact, he scored 13 top-flight goals against Freiburg. That is in 12 outings, so certainly a very, very good average for the Polish international, especially heading into the World Cup. He will be hoping to get a few goals before the end of the season. So a big game. Freiburg in 13th. Bayern obviously looking to clinch the title. Certainly looking forward to that one. Right, next up we have Eintracht Frankfurt. They are taking on Hanover. Well, it's an interesting game, isn't it? Very interesting game. Eintracht Frankfurt are enjoying a phenomenal, absolutely amazing season under Niko Kovac. They are currently in 4th spot. They are eyeing those Champions League places, although the fight for those is very, very tight indeed. However, they are coming into this game on the back of a defeat to Stuttgart. It was a 1-0 defeat away from home. Hannover, meanwhile, also suffering defeat last weekend, 1-0 against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Now, Eintracht Frankfurt have won the last 4 competitive clashes, which is their best ever run of wins in this fixture against Hanover. Can they do it again? They certainly need to bounce back. If they want those Champions League places with competition so fierce, they need to keep those wins coming. Now, Niko Kovac, his first top-flight victory as a head coach, guess who it came against? Yes, it was against Hanover. So, from a statistical point of view, Eintracht Frankfurt seem to have the edge on their opponents. Only Bayern Munich have claimed more points in 2018 than Eintracht Frankfurt. I mean, that is great territory to be within if you're an Eintracht Frankfurt fan. They have 39 points on the board currently. Phenomenal run. That's their best tally at this stage since 1992 and 1993, back when they had 42 points on the board. Fantastic. Absolutely unbelievable run. Hanover, on the other hand, they are winless in 7 on the road. Very, very tough. And they have only won 1 of their last 11 away matches, which was a win against Augsburg, if I remember correctly. They have only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 18 Bundesliga matches. So when you go check out the article, you won't be surprised where my prediction will be. Next up, we have Wolfsburg, and they are taking on Bayer Leverkusen. Very, very interesting game. Because obviously Wolfsburg towards the bottom end of the table, looking for those victories, and they're taking on Bayer Leverkusen, who are looking above them. They're looking for those Champions League places. Leverkusen are unbeaten in 4 top-flight games against Wolfsburg, including 2 wins, 2 draws. And plus, they're in good form overall, aren't they? They have suffered a couple of defeats, 2 losses in their last 3 against Hertha Berlin and against Schalke last weekend. You might remember, 2-0 defeat was a good game as well. Wolfsburg have won just 1 of their last 10 games, though. So that certainly puts Bayer Leverkusen as the favourites in this one. Wolfsburg are also winless in 4 at home. They haven't won at the Volkswagen Arena since December. We're heading into March now. So, critical time for Wolfsburg. Need to pick up victories, and they simply do not have the momentum. Bayer Leverkusen, on the other hand, are unbeaten in 9 on the road. So they certainly will be the big favourites in this one. One guy to watch out for, though, Stefan Kiesling. He has made 399 Bundesliga appearances to date. He could become the 66th player to reach the 400 club, shall we call it. Next up, obviously, it's FC Schalke 04, should I say. Schalke 04 taking on Hertha Berlin. Promises to be a decent game. Obviously, Hertha Berlin stopped Bayern München. Can they stop Schalke? Schalke have won 2 in a row now. They're looking good. They picked up a victory over Hoffenheim, 2-1. They picked up a victory over Bayer Leverkusen, 2-0 away from home. They're up to 3rd now, a point away from Borussia Dortmund. Still 20 points away from Bayern Munich, but we'll miss that fact out. Schalke have won their last 9 home games against Hertha Berlin, which is their club record. Hertha haven't won there since 2004. 2004. What were you doing that time? Make sure you send us an email or something. Unbelievable run for Schalke. Hertha have netted 1 goal in their last 10 trips to the Veltins Arena. 1 goal. Salomon Kalou getting that one back in 2015. And Hertha have scored 15 goals from set pieces this season. This is one of the stats that I pulled out, which might be interesting to some of you stat fans out there. So certainly if there's any set pieces out there that in-play bets, I'm sure will be flooding in. The Royal Blues, the Schalke, have won their last 2 matches, having been beaten in each of the previous 2. They are currently third in the table, doing really, really well. Let's see if they can keep it up when they take on Hertha Berlin at home. Next up, we have Borussia Mönchengladbach, and they're taking on Werder Bremen. Now, Mönchengladbach under Dieter Hecking went on a horrendous run of results. It was truly horrendous. They've managed to bounce back, though, with a victory last weekend over Hanover, an away victory, and it was needed as well. I believe they lost 4 or 5 games on the trot. They had slipped down to 10th, but that victory had taken them back into 7th, back into familiar territory. Of course, Werder Bremen, they are unlike Mönchengladbach, they are in good form. Even though they are towards the bottom end of the table, they are in 14th place. They've won 3 from 4, including a win over Schalke, a win over Wolfsburg, and a win over Hamburg. So, promises to be an interesting fixture. I say that all the time, but it truly is. This time I am not lying to you. Mönchengladbach have scored 4 goals in 2018, believe it or not. 4 goals in 2018. We are nearly in March. Well, I am recording this on the 1st of March, so we are already in March. Unbelievable. Borussia became the first side, though. And here's a good stat. So you can start listening, Mönchengladbach fans. They became the first side to have 2 English players on the pitch at the same time in a Bundesliga game last weekend. Mandela Egbo and Reece Oxford were on the pitch at the same time. Great stat, great for English football as well. Now, I find this extremely interesting as well. Only Bayern, Frankfurt, and Stuttgart have conceded fewer goals than Werder Bremen. Now, when you look at the table, you would never have thought that, would you? Well, Werder Bremen only conceded 28 goals. Frankfurt, Stuttgart, 27 each, and Bayern, of course, 18. So a very good stat for Werder Bremen then. And you know what? I would fancy them to pick up a good result against Mönchengladbach. Now, over to the last game. We are almost there, almost up. 20 minutes almost gone. So let's get into this. FC Augsburg against Hoffenheim. Another clash in the Bundesliga, which I am looking forward to. Hoffenheim have won 3 of their last 6 Bundesliga games in Augsburg. I mean, that is a crazy stat, isn't it? Although Augsburg are enjoying one of their best seasons in the Bundesliga in a very, very long time. This doesn't mean that their form now is good, because their recent form hasn't. They have won just 1 of their last 6 league games, so there is space for improvement. Augsburg's 6-match unbeaten run on home turf came to an end 2 weeks ago. You might remember it was a 1-0 defeat to Stuttgart. So definitely plenty of initiative there for Hoffenheim to go and win again. Hoffenheim have won just 1 of their last 8 Bundesliga games, and that is the big problem for them. They have 10 points fewer than 12 months ago. I mean, it's hard to compare them to 12 months ago when they finished 4th. That was a historic season for them. It would be a little bit unfair, I must say. However, it's still an amazing, incredible stat. Now, Hoffenheim haven't won any of their last 7 away games in the Bundesliga. So can they turn the tide and do it here? It'll be very, very interesting to see if they can. Right, the 20 minutes have come. Remember last weekend it was 30 minutes, but unfortunately I'm by myself this week. It's a solo run, so 20 will certainly be enough of you hearing my voice. That is the Bundesliga preview all wrapped up. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you check out the article as well, because there's some really, really cool stuff on there. And have a look at the website. Some really cool stuff. Have a look at it. Check it out, get involved, and we'll see you next weekend on the Bundesliga podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.